Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Merciful, the Compassionate. All praises to Allah, the Creator of the universes and their Sustainer, the Provider of believers and unbelievers. And may His choicest blessings be on the seal of His prophets, the last of His messenger and His holy progeny. We've reached the stage at which Imam Hussein alayhi salam arrived in Karbala. That was on the second day of Muharram, 10 days before the appointed date of his martyrdom, which was the 10th of Muharram. And when he landed on the 2nd of Muharram, immediately he ordered that tents be set up. And obviously that was a task that went into the hands of Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam, who was the commander of Imam Hussein alayhi salam in Karbala. He was a man of vision and foresight, but a man of deep faith and great piety. Indeed, he was a scholar in his own right. We saw how Muslim ibn Aqil alayhi salam was a scholar, a faqih as I called him. So was Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam in his own right. Not only that, but he was also a hafiz. He knew the holy book by heart, but he also knew the tafsir of the Holy Quran and was indeed an expert in the tafsir of Quran. It is said that when Imam Hussein alayhi salam was out of Medina and somebody wanted to check a point of fiqh or wanted to check a point of tafsir, they would approach Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam and he would guide them on what the correct answer was. So you can see we are not dealing with only a person who knew how to use his sword, not only a person of physical courage, but a person of knowledge, a learned intellectual in his own right. That was the kind of person Imam Hussein alayhi salam chose to be his commander, because only those were the qualifications that would permit one to be eligible for that post. Obviously, looking at it militarily, Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam chose the banks of Euphrates. He set up the tents on the banks so that water would be accessible, because without water there could be no life. They could die of thirst without water. Hence, he chose a vantage point on the banks of Euphrates. And this is where all the tents were pitched. 2 days later, on the 4th of Muharram, Umar bin Sa'd, la'anatullah alayh, comes to Karbala, and he brings a huge army with him. Differing figures as to the number of people who were in the army of Umar ibn Sa'd. The smallest number given is 4,000 people. And when he comes to Karbala, the first order he issues is that the tents be removed from the banks of Euphrates. And indeed, they be pitched so far away from Euphrates that even the cool breeze of that river should not reach those tents. That is the kind of spot that he chose for the pitching of those tents. And when that order was given, Abbas alayhi salam, out of his valor and his foresight, immediately said, no, these tents will not be removed. He drew a line on the sand and said, if anybody will cross this line to get near to these tents, a battle will start now. When Imam Hussein alayhi salam heard these words and the fury with which they were uttered by his commander Al-Abbas alayhi salam, he called Abbas alayhi salam and says, no, Abbas, remove these tents, and remove these tents to the place where Umar ibn Sa'd wants us to pitch our tents. Abbas alayhi salam moves in and says to his brother, says, oh master, and he always called him master, oh master, your order is final for me, and if this is your order, I will remove these tents now. I only wish to explain that I did so because if we move our tents from here, they could subject us to a denial of water. And if we do not have water, we have little children with us. The reply of Imam Hussein alayhi salam was, I do not want it said in history that the battle of Karbala started over the issue of water. Today, that allegation is heard, that water was a paramount factor in the battle of Karbala. It wasn't. Imam Hussein alayhi salam sacrificed that point altogether. So you can see that Imam Hussein alayhi salam had the foresight to know how the Umayyads will twist the episode of Karbala. However public he wanted to make it, however open he wanted to make it, yet they could camouflage the truth. Do you remember the time when he was asked for allegiance in that court of Walid? And Imam Hussein alayhi salam says, if my allegiance is so important, why is it sought at midnight? Why is it sought in the darkness of the night? Why is it sought within the four walls of this palace? Should it not be at midday in the open? And this is where he made his sacrifice. At midday, at Asr time, in the openness of Karbala. Yet, even with that openness, there could be a camouflage. And hence, Imam Hussein alayhi salam took every measure to ensure that his sacrifice remained sacrosanct, so that the world today can know that that sacrifice was given in the name of Islam, because one who was out to violate every principle of Islam wanted to become the last word in that religion. And Hussein alayhi salam stopped it only so that the name of Allah remains sacrosanct. Well, when he says this to Abbas alayhi salam immediately said, well, I will remove all these tents, complying with your order. This episode is not new in Islamic history. When Imam Ali alayhi salam went to Siffin to fight Muawiyah, that was the father of Yazid, and one who was out to annihilate Islam altogether. Do you remember that hadith that I set out about Abu Sufyan, the father of Muawiyah, saying when he heard the adhan, how clever Muhammad was, that he made permanent the name of Allah by incorporating it in the adhan, and he also made his name permanent by incorporating it in adhan. The Holy Prophet's name in adhan reminds us of his teachings, reminds us of his sunnah, and reminds us of La ilaha illallah. Those were his preliminary words. Qulu La ilaha illallah tuflihu. Say La ilaha illallah and you will be successful. Those words were imprinted in the sands of Karbala by Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Indeed, they were to remain sanctified by the blood of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. But when Muawiyah was out to create trouble in the Ummah of Islam, Imam Ali alayhi salam set out to confront him and paused at Siffin waiting for Muawiyah to arrive. Imam Ali alayhi salam, having got there earlier, just as Imam Hussein alayhi salam got into Karbala earlier than Umar ibn Sa'ad, la'natullah alayhi. So Imam Ali alayhi salam pitched his tents at the banks of Euphrates. When Muawiyah comes and sees that water is in the control of Ali alayhi salam, and they had to pitch their tents far from water, Muawiyah started a battle against Ali alayhi salam only on that score. He said, we will move your tents away from here so that we can put our tents. And Imam Ali alayhi salam says, that is impossible. We are here first and we have already pitched our tents. Muawiyah says, then we will start a battle here. And Ali alayhi salam says, so be it. And a battle was started. And indeed, Imam Ali alayhi salam thrust back the army of Muawiyah, and they became unsuccessful. Then, on the advice of his advisors, Muawiyah sends a delegation to Imam Ali alayhi salam saying, Ya Ali, true, we have lost. The place is now yours, but you are a man of kindness. You are a man of humanity. Well, I would say, why are you fighting Ali alayhi salam then? And yet they did. you are a man of humanity. You must allow us access to water so that when we need water, we don't die of thirst and water becomes available to us. And Imam Ali alayhi salam instantly, without a second thought, says, yes, tell Muawiyah that whenever you want water to drink, to quench thirst, we will allow access. There will be conditions. There will be only certain number of people who will be allowed to enter and take water, and only with water move away. And whilst they come unarmed to collect water, we give our word that they will remain unmolested. Throughout that battle of Siffin, Muawiyah sent people to collect water. And every time water was sought, water was made accessible to the army of Muawiyah, despite the fact that they were fighting the army of Imam Ali alayhi salam at that point in time. Yet water was made accessible and available to them. They were not molested even once. There is not one complaint in the annals of history that Ali alayhi salam deprived Muawiyah and his army of water. Look at the converse of the situation in Karbala, when the son of Muawiyah is fighting the son of Ali alayhi salam. Yazid issues orders, no water for Hussein alayhi salam, no water for the children of Hussein alayhi salam. Water was not only denied to the army, it was denied to the ladies also. It was denied to the children also, indeed. After this order on the 4th, on the 7th of Muharram, another order comes. And that order is even more vicious. The order is that the banks of Euphrates be lined up with soldiers of Yazid. Now, soldiers have lined up the Euphrates, and orders are issued that nobody from the camp of Hussein alayhi salam should reach the Euphrates or take water from it. Until the 7th, they were far from Euphrates, but they made the arduous journey to the Euphrates and filled up their water skins, filled up their buckets and carried them to their camps. Arduous it was, but at least water was available, and in the measure that they wanted. From the 7th, the new rules came in, and water was prohibited to the family of the Holy Prophet. These were people who called themselves Muslims, and Yazid was purporting to be on the throne of Khilafah, calling himself the Khalif of the Muslims. The inexplicable part, the baffling part is that Muslims accepted him and accept him till today, that he was the Khalif of the Muslims, when his behavior was such as to deprive another Muslim of water. Water is a matter of human rights. And this is why Imam Hussein alayhi salam says, I have never made a request for anything. I have never asked for anything from another human being, but he did ask for water. He asked for water at every stage in Karbala. He asked for water, saying, water is a matter of human rights. Denial of water is a denial of human rights. And it is the right of every human being to obtain water from another human being. And hence, we have no discrimination in the way we supply water. And hence, when Hur confronted him, not as a friend, and told him that he was to block his path, Imam Hussein alayhi salam did not even wait for a request for water. Hur never requested Imam Hussein alayhi salam to give water either to himself or to his army. It was a voluntary decision of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, saying to Abbas alayhi salam, don't you see how thirsty they appear? It was the midday of the desert summer, and so it would be killing heat. But Imam Hussein alayhi salam, in the kindness that he harbored in him, offered water. He was truly a grandson of Rahmatun lil Alameen, the one who was sent as a mercy to the universes. When the personalities of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and Yazid were so much in conflict, there was so much virtue on one side, so much evil and vice on the other side, it is baffling to see that humans sided with the vicious and were out to oppress the virtuous. Until today, there are those who will not support the commemoration of the martyrdom of Imam Hussein alayhi salam for reasons that are inexplicable to us. Well, but there is reason to remember Hussein alayhi salam, because in remembering him, there is remembrance of human rights. There is remembrance of democracy. There is remembrance of the rights of the people to determine who their ruler should be. Well, when these orders were issued, of course there was panic. There was sufficient water to last a few days. But by the time the eve of Ashura came, then there was very little water left. And some of the commanders from the army of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, few as they were, there were only 70 men who fought on the side of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. What an irony that it should be called a battle for power, a battle for politics. You do not go into a battlefield with only 70 people. You do not go into a battlefield with women and young children. Every stage and step of the journey of Imam Hussein alayhi salam proves that it was not a journey for politics. It was not a journey of a planned battle between two princes. Yazid, of course, was a planned battle. The numbers given of the army of Yazid ranged to over 100,000 people. The minimum number given of the army of Yazid in Karbala, it was 30,000. So you can see he was armed for a battle. But it is baffling also to visualize that he needed an army of at least 30,000 people to fight only 70. That harshness, that disproportionality shows the personality of Yazid and how human rights faded into insignificance, indeed, into virtual non-existence in Karbala, and in the entire conduct and behavior of Yazid during his Khilafah. Well, these commanders from the army of Yazid set out. Burair, for example, set out. Al-Abbas alayhi salam set out himself, fought those people in the darkness, fought those the rows of soldiers who were guarding the embankment, took water, but how much water could they bring? They could only fill a few water skins and brought the water for the survival of the children. But alas, when the day of Ashura came, that is the 10th of Muharram, there was no water for those for anybody at all. Hur heard these voices of Al-Atash on the eve of Ashura, and went to Umar ibn Sa'd and says, Umar, don't you hear these voices? Are you going to perpetuate this embargo on water on the little children of Hussein alayhi salam? What face will you show the Holy Prophet? And indeed, Hur regarded it as haram, as forbidden to remain in the army of Yazid, although Hur was a prominent commander. He was one of the top commanders of that army. He left all that and said to his son, "O my son, I see myself between heaven and hell." Couldn't the others see that? Wasn't that distinction so obvious? قَدْ تَبَيَّنَ الرُّشْدُ مِنَ الْغَيِّ. You can see that ayah fulfilled in Karbala in its perfection. Indeed, there was truth on one side, there was falsity on the other. Hur could see it manifestly and decided that he will cross the floor. Indeed, when Imam Hussein alayhi salam sent his people to fight, each of those companions reminded the people who called themselves Muslims in the army, saying, how can you fight the grandson of the Holy Prophet without giving him water? What will you reply to Allah on the Day of Judgment? Because that is the bottom line in Islam, the Day of Judgment and its accountability on that day. And then when Akbar alayhi salam goes to fight, all he asks Imam Hussein alayhi salam is, can you see if you can give me just one gulp of water so that I can go and fight these enemies of Allah more bravely? There was not to be. But the peak came when Imam Hussein alayhi salam had to take his 6-month child, Asghar, onto the battlefield and say to the people, this child is now dying. His mother's milk has dried up. he is to die without water. If you fear that I will drink the water, I lay him on the ground, come and give him water, and yet water was not given. On the contrary, Hurmala was ordered by Umar ibn Sa'd, Iqta kalam al-Hussein, and indeed, in fulfillment of that command, a three-pronged arrow is flung at Asghar alayhi salam, a 6-month-old child, and a 6-month-old child is arrowed to death by Hurmala on the command of Umar ibn Sa'id, only so that water is not given even to the child of that age. You can see what battle this was, whether it was a battle for politics or power, or whether it was a battle out of venom and vengeance. When that body was brought to the mother by Hussein alayhi salam, all that the mother said, "Amithluka yanar," do they kill even a little child like you in the manner in which they. May Allah spare us the atrocities of this world and keep us on the right path. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.